Hello there, it is Sue and Gareth from Better 24/7, and this is a slightly different podcast because this is going to be a much shorter one. I've decided to bring something in called Bite Size Better. And the idea really is that a lot of us podcasts are about an hour, maybe a bit more. These are going to be very short, very punchy, probably about 15 to 20 minutes. So we're going to aim for on this one anyway, just to talk about specific things in a bit more detail. So let's chit-chat, a bit more kind of information imparting.
Good, sounds good.
It does sound good, doesn't it? What I thought we'd talk about today, because I think this is really important. As we speak, it is about 4:30. In fact, it's not about 4:30, it's exactly 4:30 on Monday, Easter Monday. So we're just about to hear our next, what is it they do on an evening?
Oh, they do like a kind of bad news catch-up.
I think the government will call it something else. But you know what I mean, it's the government press conference. So today's the day that the lockdown was going to be reviewed, and I think we're both in agreement, and most of the countries in agreement this is going to go on. So I wanted to talk today about something which I was writing about this morning. I think is really important, is what's going to happen next emotionally to people. Because we've discussed this a couple of times off the camera, because we're on YouTube on this one as well, and off the microphone. But I think it's really quite interesting if we can just talk about some of the things that I believe are going to come up next, or one thing in particular, which I think is going to start to show its head, which is anger.
Anger, frustration, boredom.
Whichever way you look at it, whether it's frustration, whether it's boredom, whether it's all these emotions come down to some level will make us feel angry if they go on long enough. And I think it's something that people need to be really aware of. I'm not going to read this blog word for word, because if you want to read that, you can go to garethpool.com and read it. But what I thought was interesting when I started thinking about this morning was how it's changed. I'm seeing a change in how the media's approaching this coronavirus situation, and also how people are approaching it. So if we roll back to where we were 3 weeks ago, just before the lockdown, or when the lockdown started, there was a kind of a sense of, it's almost like a jolly sense that this was like a bit of a holiday.
Yeah, it was very novel, and I think once people got over the shock, a lot of people were looking at it like some kind of holiday, especially people that have been furloughed. They're all sat at home with no work and getting paid. So
that, in essence, sounds almost idyllic. If you think about that, if somebody was said to us when we were working, look, you can sit at home for 2 weeks, you've nothing to do, we'll pay you fully, well, we'll pay 8% of what you would have got, but the only thing you have to do is not leave the house unless you're going out for a bit of exercise or to the shops. You would have actually taken that deal.
Yeah, you'd have probably thought maybe a week or 2 weeks, yeah.
But I think the reality now after this 3 week period is it's starting to, I think cracks are starting to appear. I think I've noticed a very different tone in how the people are talking about the government. There's a lot of now criticism coming to the government about how they've handled this, should have done, could have done, would have done. I think that's interesting. I also think it's interesting how there seems to be a lot of venom aimed at these people who are breaking the lockdown rules.
Well, most of us are doing as we're told, and there are certain people in society that are not. And from my point of view, it's like if we all did it, we'd be out a lot quicker.
I think that's very true.
I don't know if we would or not, but it just seems like, hang on a minute, most of us are doing as we're told, and then you can actually go for a walk and see that there's some people are not. They're just quite ignoring it, really.
What I saw this as was whether these people breaking the rules or not, whoever they are, it doesn't matter. The fact they're breaking them almost doesn't matter. It does matter. What I'm saying is that's not the reason I think people are criticising these people now, or criticising the government. I think when anger appears in people's lives, or they're upset about something, they need a target to throw that anger at. So at the moment, we're angry with the way the government's behaving. For the last few weeks, I've been seeing things on social media about, how badly the Conservatives have caused this through wrecking the NHS. And all these things may or may not be true. But it's almost like there's a sense for me now that this anger is coming out and it's focused on the government, it's focused on... So people are starting to get angry because there's more criticism coming.
Well, it's this kind of victim mentality that it seems to be quite prevalent in our society. We have to find somebody to blame.
Exactly. So what we do is we take our anger out on that. The purpose of this podcast really is to take it a bit nearer home. Because it's one thing, getting angry with your MPs, the government, angry with these people that have barbecues and invite their friends round. That's one way you can show your anger. But what happens that anger starts to tip over into the people you're actually sharing the lockdown with?
Well, it's a fact that domestic abuse has gone up significantly since the lockdown. So there is a lot of people struggling in their own homes.
So I thought what would be good, I can't really pass comment to that. I think there are some very abusive relationships out there. This is more about our class as a generally normal family setup. And even if you don't have a family, if you're living by yourself, I think the same feelings of anger and frustration are going to come out in you as well, potentially. And when I say potentially, the reality is I think most people do crack if they're pushed hard enough and far enough. And it would appear that some people, they kind of cracked and broke after a week. I know we laugh about this, and we hear a lot about people saying we've got to protect our mental health. There's also an element in me that feels that realistically, hang on, it's a week. Come on. I've noticed there's a couple of 3 people that I follow on social media that we're all over this, we're working from home, we're all in this together. Everything's, let's do things, giving their advice and the positivity, trying to jockey everybody along in the first couple of 3 days, couple of weeks. A few of them have gone very silent in the last few days.
I don't know about you, but other people kind of being positive and putting out positive sayings has no effect on me whatsoever.
Winds me up.
Has no effect on me. I can have a fed up day surrounded by really positive people. I can have a really good day surrounded by negative people. For me, it's more about how I feel and what I can tap into rather than looking at things that are uplifting. Yeah, after a while you just think, shut up.
Well, it's almost like people state the obvious, like, just stay positive. Well, what does that mean? What I've wrote about, you haven't read this, so I'm kind of throwing these ideas at you because I want your kind of expert opinion on your views on this. I think that neither negativity or positivity do any good at all in the long run. I think they're all illusions and they're a little bit they don't mean anything. When people say we're all doomed, what does that mean? And both me and you are master NLP practitioners, and for people that don't know what that is, Google it. But we understand about human behaviour. And there's something we talk about in NLP where people say, everybody hates me. It's a generalisation, isn't it? So people are saying, we're doomed. Well, that's a generalisation. You need to most people, well, how are we doomed? So the way we would handle this is this idea of we're all doomed, or, everything's bad, the government's bad, the people down the road are bad, negativity. And a lot of it doesn't mean anything. It's kind of a general term that's not specific. The same with positivity. Just put your positive pants on. What are them? Where'd you buy positive pants?
That is getting less and less now.
But where do you buy your positive pants from? Do they sell them in Marks and Spencer's?
Well, if they do, they're rather big.
The reality is, it's like that. Just people saying, we're all in this together. Well, we're not actually all in this together. We're all in it individually en masse. And I know these things might not sound popular, and people might think who's listening to this, well, we are in this together. Listen to me. I'm not coming from this from experiencing 3 weeks of coronavirus. I'm coming from this from 30 years of understanding human behaviour. We all go through a stage of it's all fun and happy, then it becomes anger. And this positive and negative, unless it's anything that's specific with it, as in this is what you need to do, then I don't think it really works. Like the people who say, the government are doing a crap job. Okay, I get that. What would you have them do with the resources they've got? And now what are you going to do? Bear in mind, you're not in government. So somebody, Doris from Facebook is trying to tell Boris Johnson how to run a country and how she's doing it so much better. Well, I'm afraid Boris is in that job. So for me, positive and negativity, they're kind of illusionary, fluffy things. What I think is really good is practicality. I kind of rhyme as well, doesn't it?
You love practicality.
I think practicality is the answer to most challenges we face. In fact, I would go a step further. It's the answer to every challenge we face.
Can you get practical pants?
You can get practical pants. The New Balance, you get them from TK Maxx, $12.99, 3 pairs. They're very comfortable, especially when you're running. So I've come up with 6 things that I thought are practical things you can do. What we're trying to do on this one, this bite-sized version, is to give you something that you can implement practically in your home with the people you're living with if it's starting to get a bit tetchy. And if you listen to this and it's not getting tetchy, just wait. Because whether it's another 3 days or 3 weeks, if this goes on for a longer period of time, more and more people start to feel this anger and they will not know what to do with it. So, Susan.
Yes, Gareth.
I've wrote down them in no particular order. I'm going to read out what they are and then we'll discuss them.
Okay.
So the first one that I thought you could do, one of the 6 practical things you could do to deal with anger throughout this next however long it'll be. Firstly, you must absolutely, definitely take advantage of the chance you get every day to leave the house to exercise. You've got to do it.
If you don't, you're missing a trick.
Absolutely.
And you can't give it to other people neither, so somebody can go out 8 times.
You can't bank it.
Nope.
You can't give it to it.
No, you can't go out at the weekend all day.
No. So I think, firstly, even if you are not a exercise person, I get all that. Getting outside will be massively good for your mental health. Not because you're outside, it's because you've left the environment you've spent a lot of time in.
And also, spring is here, so it's just a beautiful time. We've had some lovely evening walks where the sun's been going down. It's still not been too cold.
No, you're right.
And we've noticed the blossom, and we've noticed the little squirrels, and everything's coming alive. And it's as if, for me, this might sound a little bit not woolly, but when you're outside, we've got a lovely green space over the road. It's as if everything's perfect. The earth is just carrying on. The season's arrived and it's just moving. Whatever we're doing or whatever the humans are doing, everything else is just going on as normal. And it does give you a nice feeling. It gives you a nice, safe feeling.
That's excellent.
The world is still moving on.
So mentally, you'll have the advantage of going outside. It will clear your mind. And what I would also suggest, well, if you get in touch with other people in the household, go out by yourself. Don't go out as a family, because all you're doing is taking that pressure cooker somewhere else. It might be slightly nicer, but I would suggest, and I mean, clearly, if you've got young children, that's not going to work. But try to find a way of splitting up the time with whoever it is. So maybe if you're fed up of the entire family, just go out by yourself once, then somebody else take the kids out.
If possible.
Everything's possible. Let's get this clear. Everything's possible. And, if something's important, you'll make it possible. If you live by yourself, this applies as well. Although you may not have somebody in the house that's winding you up, being in the house itself may wind you up and make you feel angry. Go outside, change your environment, see something different. And, the fresh air is a bloody good thing to get inside you as well. It's better than stuffed up in your house all day. This is closely fixed in with staying in your house all day, which is... do not lounge about in your PJs all day. There's a number of pictures appearing on the internet. Some of people we know that seem to be spending more than a large amount of time in clothing I would class as leisure wear. Very, very leisurely wear. So,
you mean slippers and a nightie?
Well, I've basically put... I wrote this, I thought it sounded quite nice. Don't lounge about in your PJs all day. Firstly, it will make you feel less energised than you would in normal clothes. And secondly, if you're an adult spending extended periods of time in items designed for sleeping in, it's just plain fucking wrong.
What was I going to do last night when you made dinner?
Have some dignity. Well, you were going to get dressed up last night.
Yeah, but I had a fed-up day yesterday.
We'll talk about that in a second. So don't spend all day in your PJs. We're both dressed a bit different today. You've got leopard print pants on. I've got a shirt on. Because you can't stay in PJs all day and expect to feel good. You're going to feel relaxed. As body's tuned to thinking, hang on, we're in leisure wear, we're in as PJs, it's time to get sleepy. This is not a time to get sleepy. And also, I'm not saying everybody's doing this. Somebody might not be doing this, but I know somebody will be doing this. Have a shower, do your hair, brush your teeth. You've got to keep that going, really you have. The minute you let that drop off, you've got a problem on your hands. So
I don't think I've brushed my hair today.
Well, it still looks beautiful, Susan.
Thank you.
So don't lounge around your PJs all day. So that's number 2. Number 3, have a routine. This is so important. Have a routine, and I would say if it's not the routine you normally keep, because things have changed, write that routine down so everyone in the household, including yourselves, know what that routine is. You should have... you should know when you're getting up, when you're going to bed. Set these times. Don't just wake up when you do wake up. Go to bed when you fancy it. Try to keep the structure of that. And also what time you're going to eat. What are you going to eat? We spent a lot of time talking about that recently. What's for dinner? You know, where you're going to work and how long you're going to work. So if you're going to work in the kitchen, you know, are you going to work there from between 9 and 5? Are you going to take a break for lunch? Make sure this is written down. Make sure it's a routine. And when you start working, you know, decide that's the time I'm going to start working. Put the laptop away, put the computer away, turn that off.
Yeah, it's quite... sometimes you finish something and then you might eat dinner and then you think, oh, I've got an hour. Sneak back down into the office and check emails.
We've both done that a couple of times recently, and I'm mindful of it. So that's why I'm mentioning it, because I think it's something I've become clear of today about in this routine. And the other thing as well is, don't be checking your social media during the day. Most people work in an office or anywhere. You would not be able to check your Facebook or your Instagram during the day, apart from if you were on a break. So to do that, stay off it. It's a massive, massive drain of time. Again, I've noticed something which could be significant. I've noticed less people now posting on social media, especially in groups regarding business, than there were before the coronavirus.
Really?
Yeah, a great deal. The people, because I go off people comments and likes, and the comments and likes are down in all the groups I'm in. And I think what it is people now are just getting to a stage where they don't want to look at the news. They're getting angry and they're frustrated, and all they're doing is seeing people in one of two things. If they're showing off, look, I'm doing great, I've got more clients this week, and I'm doing it all online, they're going to get frustrated and angry. Or you get the chance to see you're doing better than somebody else, maybe, then you'll feel above them, and that's not a good place to be. So don't be spending your time on social media. Even if, and let me tell you, if you're a business person listening to this, don't say, I'm going to use this time to really get on top of social media. It's a massive drain of your time if you're not careful. So don't spend much time on it. And even after you're supposed to be working, I would still suggest you avoid as much social media as possible. Not because of the negativity or positivity, just because there's better things you can do with your time.
Oh, I see. I like to check my Facebook on the night.
Nothing wrong with checking it, but just check it. I'm not saying you spend all evening flicking through it. I'm saying there's nothing wrong with checking it. You should be checking that. You should be checking the news. You've got to keep informed, but don't let it become this kind of equivalent of chewing gum. So we do it, let me just keep going, and how long are we doing it for? So that was my number 4, stay off social media. Number 5, expect to get angry, expect to get frustrated, and expect to get scared. There's a lot of fear about. There's no doubt about that. What's your view on this? This idea, the fear that's around. Because would you agree there's anger, there's frustration and fear? It's time to come in.
Yeah, I suppose because now we're not around people, I haven't noticed any fear or anxiety.
Have you noticed in yourself at all?
Not really, not fear, not anxiety. I got a little bit fed up yesterday.
So what would you say that emotion was? Where would it fit? Would it fit into anger, frustration, fear? Or anger, frustration, or fear? Which would it fall into closest?
A bit of frustration.
I think it was frustration with you yesterday. You were sat in the living room just looking out, this longing look on your eyes towards Sainsbury's.
No, but I can't say that was because of the present situation, because I have days like that anyway.
Yeah.
So I just live with it, because I can wake up the following morning, it's gone anyway.
Expect it. People are going to feel like this, even if it's not you, if you manage to holding it together. And I wouldn't say that in a way to try to think you're kind of some big hard case. Just some people's tipping point is different.
And I didn't have a full day.
No,
I was
it was
really
more
buoyant.
afternoon, right up to the afternoon. I'll tell you what we did yesterday, which was a mistake.
Oh, you say this, but I didn't want to go out yesterday
I'm telling you now, we didn't go out running yesterday, so we had a routine we didn't keep to. Secondly, it was Easter Sunday, and we were going to have an Easter weekend and do things a bit different, and we ended up messing about on a computer. You were down here doing some work, I was upstairs doing some work. And the day itself went quite the opposite. It went from being a really lovely morning into quite a grim afternoon. So not only did your mood drop, the whole weather dropped, so we couldn't have gone out in the afternoon, which we did go for a walk, but it was bloody cold.
It was freezing. If
you expect anger to turn up, frustration and fear to turn up, then you can sort of look at it and say, yeah. So you're almost looking at it from a third person. Yeah, I can see that coming in now, a bit of anger showing you there. Yeah, I expected you. Nice to see you.
And don't forget, boredom is a very low point of anger.
It all starts with boredom. It's boredom. If you think about it, boredom, then it goes to frustration. Frustration becomes annoyance. Annoyance becomes anger. These are all negative emotions that start very small but end up being something very, very big. So when you can notice it turning up, you can almost joke at it. So I do this when I find myself getting angry. I can just about say, hang on a minute here. I can see what's happening. I can see what you're doing. Thank you. But he's back in charge now. Thank you. We can go now. And it's almost like you can diffuse it by being aware of it and expecting it.
And also not fighting against it.
No, don't fight it. Let it pass. If you feel angry, you feel angry. Do something to get rid of that anger. Go running. Or even just let it pass through. It'll pass. Like you woke up this morning. It's different again, didn't you?
Yeah, I just went upstairs and sat with a long face and watched a programme about a woman who was incredibly successful.
Excellent. Finally, when the people in your house become too much, this is assuming you're living with other people. Mm-hmm. When the other people become too much, just tell them. Say, look, it's just too much. But there's a caveat to this. This has got all the potential, if you're not careful, to turn your house into a war zone if you get this bit wrong. Just say, look, I just need a bit of space. I'm going to go to another room.
My daughter goes in the bath.
Great, but everybody has their own coping mechanism for dealing with this frustration of being cooped up with each other. And this is not the only time we experience this. We can experience it at Christmas. We can experience it on family holidays. But they're never this long. Christmas isn't 3 weeks long, and holiday isn't 3 weeks long, and you're very lucky. So if you need that time, give the people in your house permission to say when they're not happy. But that has to be done with respect, and it has to be done with kindness, and it has to be done with love. It's not just about saying, you're doing me tits in you, fuck off. None of that. You have to be doing it in a calmer, considerate way, and that is the way you deal with it, by just voicing that and encourage them to the same. So if they're feeling frustrated, they can say something. You have views on that about voicing when you don't feel about something? Because you voiced something this morning, didn't you, to me? You said, I don't want you to do anything, but what did you mention this morning?
I don't know.
Well, you mentioned something, you said, I don't want you to do anything, I just thought I'd voice it to you. So I had to say it.
Oh, it was Easter eggs.
Oh, the Easter eggs, yeah, you voiced that,
There was a lot of vegan Easter eggs after you said you couldn't find one.
Anyway, I went out and got you the vegan Easter eggs. So.
You got me two.
Well, because, wanted to make up for not getting them yesterday.
I find it quite easy to say, I suppose because I know you, and I don't think I say it in a bad way, but in the past, if I wake up and I'm laid there and you say, are you awake? And I say, yeah, but I don't want to talk.
No, but we've give each other permission to do that. That's what I'm saying. I think this is what you have to give the household. Don't
get offended if somebody wants to have a bit of time on their own.
No, you just have to have the permission to say it. So what you're going to have to find in this time is somebody within the household, I don't care who it is, but one of you's got to take some ownership of this and say, right, these are the rules we're going to bring in. They're for the good of us all, and you have to police that. And you have to be the one that's going to be strong enough to say, look, I am giving everyone permission to tell me, for me to tell you that things, I just need a bit of space. So I thought them were 6 very, very practical things you could do. Definitely take advantage of the ability to get out and do some exercise. Don't lounge about all day in your PJs. Get dressed properly. Have a routine. Write it down. It must be written down, believe me. If it does not written down, it will not be as effective. Stay off social media, apart from maybe an odd time of the night. Do not spend all your day drifting on that. Expect to get angry. And that's how you can, then you'll be looking for it. And when it turns up, give it a little wink and say hello to it, then send it on its way again. And finally, make sure that you are allowing the people in your house to have the permission to say when, I'm getting a bit fed up here, I need to back off. And if you live by yourself, what I would actually say is you get the permission to say that to yourself. If you have to go say it in a mirror, just saying it out loud to somebody, even if it's your own reflection, will deflate the feeling of anger you've got inside.
Or you can ring us.
Have they got his number?
No.
Good. No, that's probably a good point. If you do know people, I know 1 or 2 people that would be very happy to ring me, and any of my close friends listen to this who are feeling a bit unhappy can ring me anytime they like. I'll be ringing them next week. Some of them, just see how they all are. But those are 6 things I think are very practical to do, and this has been the first episode of Bite Size Better, or Better Bite Size, I'm not going to call it yet. How long do we say we're going to be? 15, 20 minutes?
Yes.
25, so. Anyway, there's lots of practical things you can do. There's just 6 of them. Explore them, play with them, but really, don't let that nasty thing and emotions take hold of them. By using these things, you can deflate them. And just one thing to finish off on. If it's not bothered you yet, if you've not got angry yet yourself, don't think you're some kind of superstar. It will come to you eventually. Everybody will get this feeling of anger if they are left in a difficult position for long enough. So if you're not in that position yet, use that fact you're not in it to maybe be the voice of reason, maybe in a household that's getting a little bit tetchy. So we'll go now and listen to what the actual lockdown is going to be from now on. So,
yep.
and I think we'll do some more of these bite sizes, but 25 minutes, that's not bad. That's better than an hour. And we just hope if you ever listen to this or watch it on YouTube, just comment underneath or send us a message. Or we'd just like to know, do you prefer these ones at about now 30 minutes long, or do you prefer the longer ones? Because we're going to mix them up this week.
Yeah, you see, that's a bit of a challenge for you, isn't it, love, doing a 30-minute one?
Well, no, because realistically what I've thought now is we'd give 6 pints. I should just give them 3.
Okay.
But, you know, we're evolving, Sue. We're evolving. Thank you for listening. And until the next podcast,
Bye-bye.
take care.